Hello guys and welcome back. I'm Alex and today we're going to see 10 places that are found in the United States but are more Filipino than American. So if it's your first time on the channel, welcome, like the video, subscribe. A lot of videos about the Philippines. It's a channel dedicated to the Philippines. Let's go and check this out.
America has 4.4 million Filipino-Americans. They
Wow.
are concentrated in hospitals and Navy towns and suburbs built on the promise of the Immigration Act of 1965. They are the largest Asian American group in California, Hawaii, and Nevada. And yet in certain places, specific zip codes, specific streets, specific cities, the presence of Filipino culture is not background noise. It is the main frequency. You hear Tagalog at the checkout line. You eat long salog for breakfast. You drive past a Jollibee. You are, without question, somewhere that feels more like Manila than America. These are 10 of those places.
Let's see.
Each one arrived here by a different route. All of them stayed. 1. Daly City. Daly City sits directly south of San Francisco, fog gray and dense, pressed against the Pacific.
We have
More
a
than
video
30%
dedicated
of its
to Daly
100,000
City.
residents are Filipino, the highest concentration of any mid-sized city in America.
I'm going to leave it
The
at the end of the
Immigration and
video.
Nationality Act of 1965 opened the gate, and Filipino nurses, teachers, and families poured in, drawn by jobs at nearby hospitals and the promise of affordable housing just outside the city. A large plant nursery on the outskirts gave some of the first Filipino workers an early foothold before the hospitals came calling, and the neighborhood grew outward from there. By the 1990s, the community had built something self-sustaining and unmistakably its own. The first Jollibee location in the United States opened on Mission Street in 1998 to lines that stretched around the block. Goldilocks Bakery followed. Pandesal came from New Jersey bakeries every morning. Tagalog floated through the aisles of every grocery store on every block. A book published in 2009 called Daly City Pinoy Capital, the Filipino Nation in Miniature, rebuilt on American soil. The fog here rolls in off the bay the same way it rolls into Manila Bay. Nobody planned that. It just fits. 2. Vallejo. Filipinos arrived in Vallejo as early as 1912. They
Wow.
came from Mare Island Naval Shipyard, the oldest naval shipyard on the Pacific coast, where the pay was steady, the work was skilled, and the jobs came with benefits that farm labor never would. By the 1920s and 1930s, entire Victorian homes along South Vallejo had been converted into Filipino boarding houses. The ratio of men to women was as high as 40-1, and many bachelors never intended to stay permanently, yet most never left. When the War Brides Act passed in 1946, those bachelors went back to the Philippines and returned with families, and Vallejo transformed almost overnight. The Filipino community of Solano County was founded that same year. The Filipino Methodist Church rose from a congregation that had been turned away from Catholic parishes. Today, Filipinos hold 4 of 7 seats on Vallejo City Council, and 28% of one zip code identifies as Filipino.
Wow, 4. Guys, it's 4, it's a lot. But I want to say something. I mean, every place where a Filipino goes, it makes it better. So look at the nurses. Look at how many jobs are done by the Filipinos. And they're doing really, really good. And about the food, when I'm going to arrive to the Philippines, I can't wait to try everything. Like, well, almost everything. We have some videos on my other channel where you can find it down below in the description, where there are some foods in the Philippines that I don't know if I would try.
Filipino, a density that shapes every school, every church, every election. Mare Island closed in 1996, but the community it anchored never left. The shipyard built ships. The ships brought men. The men built a city inside a city, and it is still there.
Stockton.
3. Stockton. By the 1940s, Stockton had the largest Filipino population in the world outside the Philippines itself. Young men had come in the 1920s and 1930s to harvest asparagus in the San Joaquin Delta, grueling stoop labor under a sun that left marks. They were barred from crossing Main Street into the white part of the city. So south of Main Street, they built their own. Restaurants, hotels, barbershops, the Rizal Social Club, the Daguhoy Lodge, a community that breathed entirely in Filipino and asked nothing from the city that excluded it. In 1965, labor organizer Larry Itliong, who had been organizing strikes out of Stockton since the 1930s, led 2,000 Filipino farm workers off the Delano vineyards. It was a full week before Cesar Chavez joined the effort. That strike became the foundation of the United Farm Workers. The crosstown freeway demolished most of Little Manila in the early 1970s. A McDonald's replaced a block of irreplaceable history that a generation had built from nothing. 2 buildings remain on El Dorado Street. The National Trust for Historic Preservation named the site one of America's most endangered places in 2003. All roads lead to Stockton. The historian who said that died in 2018. The road is still there. 4. Woodside. Woodside Roosevelt Avenue between 63rd and 71st Streets runs beneath the elevated 7 train loud, shadow dark, perpetually rumbling. In that shadow, Filipino New York built itself. After the 1965 Immigration Act, Filipino nurses were recruited to staff Elmhurst Hospital, 2 stops away on the same line. They settled nearby and others followed, and the block filled in store by store, family by family. By the 1990s, the corridor had the highest concentration of Filipino businesses in New York City: Jollibee, Red Ribbon Bake Shop, the Philippine National Bank, the Phil-Am Food Mart, which opened in 1976 and never closed. By the 1990s, 72% of Filipino immigrants in New York were registered nurses. They built the health system. They also built this corridor, one business at a time. On June 12, 2022, Philippine Independence Day, the intersection of Roosevelt Avenue and 70th Street was officially named Little Manila Avenue. A mural on the wall of a restaurant reads Mabuhay. It was painted in 2020 to honor Filipino healthcare workers who gave their lives during the worst months of the pandemic. The petition to co-name the street gathered more than 3,000 signatures before the city council voted 15-0 in favor. The sign finally gave a name to something that had existed for 50 years.
Chula Vista.
5. Chula Vista. Chula Vista is a Navy town by inheritance. After World War II, Filipino sailors who served at Naval Base San Diego retired from active duty and moved south into the suburbs of Chula Vista. National City, the South Bay communities where housing was affordable and the Filipino community was already being built. By the late 1970s and early 1980s, more than half of all Filipino babies born in the greater San Diego area were delivered at Balboa Naval Hospital. In 2015, there were over 31,000 Filipino-Americans in Chula Vista, a number that has continued to grow with every passing decade since. The pattern the military created: disciplined, middle-class stability, intergenerational settlement, produced a community that fused military service.
Guys, it's so important in my point of view. If you are not in your country and you are working or whatever it is, having a little place that reminds you of home, it's something outstanding. And I'm so glad to seeing this because I understand how it is being not living in your country. So think about how heartfelt are the Filipinos and, homesickness and everything. It's so beautiful to see this. And thinking about it, they actually built the place with, like I was saying, nurses, businesses and everything, because we know how hard work are the Filipino people, how much passion they put in their work. So this is beautiful.
With deep cultural rootedness. Filipino beauty salons, bakeries, and community organizations line the commercial corridors. The Filipino school here teaches Tagalog and Filipino-American history to children whose grandfathers served on U.S. Navy ships as stewards. In 2020, the community rallied more than 10,000 signatures to protect a beloved Filipina school principal facing demotion, demonstrating the organized civic muscle the South Bay Filipino community had quietly built over decades. From steward to city councilor took 2 generations. The bay is still visible from the hills. The ships come and go. The families stay. 6. National City. National City sits between San Diego and Chula Vista, tight and flat along the bay. Filipinos arrived here the same way they arrived everywhere in the South Bay, through the Navy, through service, through the convergence of military pipeline and immigrant tenacity. In the 1940s and 1950s, Filipinos and Mexicans shared a segregated geography squeezed below a racial dividing line enforced by landlords and real estate agents and built their own world inside those limits. They pooled resources, formed fraternal organizations, and held dances and pageants in rented halls to keep the culture alive and the community bound together. Over time, that community became not marginal, but foundational to the identity and daily function of National City. Pasikat, a Filipino performing arts organization, purchased its community center at 102 East 16th Street in 1973.
Wow.
It still stands. The organization staged the first Mrs. Philippines contest in 1971 to raise the funds that bought the building. National City's first elected Filipino-American city council member took office in 1973, the same year the community center was secured. The community arrived as stewards on Navy ships and stayed to govern, teach, and run the hospitals. The ships they served on are long decommissioned. The community is still here, governing.
Ooh, let's see
7,
here.
Las Vegas. The 1920 U.S. Census recorded 5 Filipinos in all of Clark County. Today, the number exceeds 250,000, the 6th largest Filipino community among American metro areas and the largest Asian group in the Las Vegas Valley. Some of the first Filipino workers helped construct the Hoover Dam in the 1930s, doing dangerous work in brutal desert heat for wages that barely held. Later waves staffed the hotels and hospitals that the Strip demanded and never stopped demanding, generation after generation building the city from the inside out. In April 2025, Clark County Commissioners voted unanimously to establish a Filipino Town Cultural District along Maryland Parkway between Flamingo and Desert Inn Roads, a 1.2-mile corridor anchored by Seafood City, Jollibee, Goldilocks, and dozens of Filipino-owned businesses. The campaign was led by Rosita V. Lee, 90 years old, who had been building toward this recognition for decades. The street signs went up in October 2025. Early design drafts for Circus Circus and the Rio were hand-drawn by Filipino artist Rodolfo Crisostomo, who died in 2017. His work is still lit up on the Strip. His name is nowhere near it. 8. Honolulu. Filipinos began arriving in Hawaii in 1906 as Cicadas recruited contract workers for the sugar plantations. Brought across the Pacific on boats to do work that Hawaiian and Japanese labor could no longer cover at the wages plantation owners were willing to pay. Between 1906 and 1946, roughly 125,000
Wow.
Filipinos made that journey. By 1932, they were the majority of Hawaiian plantation laborers, cutting cane in heat that earned them wages far below what white supervisors earned for watching. By 1940, there were more Filipinos in the territory of Hawaii than in all of the continental United States combined. In 2010, Filipinos surpassed Japanese Americans to become the largest Asian ethnic group in the state. By 2020, Filipino-Americans made up more than a quarter of Hawaii's entire population, nearly 383,000 people. Waipahu, on the west side of Oahu, sits at the geographic center of this history, built around a former plantation, still majority Filipino. Its streets named and lived in by families who are 5 generations removed from those first cicadas. The cane fields are gone. The community that arrived to work there is not. 9. Historic
Where is
Filipino
this?
town. The first significant wave of Filipinos arrived in Los Angeles in 1923. Within a decade, there were 6,000 of them in the downtown area restaurants, 7 barbershops, pool halls, the newspaper The Philippines Review, the Manila Portrait Studio. In 1946, St. Columban Filipino Church became the first Filipino Catholic parish in the United States, anchored on a hill in what would become historic Filipino town. In 1995, artist Eliseo Art Silva painted Gintong Kasaysayan, Gintong Pamana, the largest Filipino-American mural in the country, on a wall facing Unidad Park. He was 22 years old when he completed it, and the mural has not faded. In 2002, the city of Los Angeles officially designated the neighborhood, making it the first recognized Filipino-American neighborhood in the continental United States. The 30-foot gateway arch at the eastern boundary, inspired by the traditional Filipino salakate headgear, was completed in 2022. Today, Jollibee is 1 block away. The crosswalks are patterned in traditional basket weave designs. The park's terraces are modeled on the rice terraces of the Philippine Cordilleras, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The neighborhood is still here. The brochures undercount it. 10. Maryland Parkway Corridor. This is the newest entry on this list, and the most instructive about where Filipino America is heading. In October 2025, Clark County unveiled a Filipino Town street sign along Maryland Parkway, formalizing a cultural district that had functioned unofficially for years. Seafood City draws Filipino families from Henderson, Summerlin, and North Las Vegas every weekend, often traveling across the whole valley just to feel at home. It doubles as a polling place, a Philippine Independence Day celebration site each June, and the closest thing to a town square the community has ever had. Jollibee is inside the same complex. Goldilocks, Chowking,
And look at that, how
Red
beautiful
Ribbon,
it
the
is,
full
that food.
constellation of Filipino food chains has landed here, in a desert city built on neon and labor. The Filipino population of Las Vegas grew more than 300% over 2 decades. The community arrived as hotel workers and nurses, then became developers, lawyers, artists, politicians. Comedian Joe Coy launched his career at an open mic night on this same stretch in 1994. The first Filipino elected to Las Vegas Municipal Court is now a judge. There were 5 Filipinos in Clark County in 1920. One of them could not have imagined this street sign. None of them would be surprised it took this long. American identity has always been assembled from what people brought with them and refused to leave behind. Filipino-Americans brought language, faith, food, bayanihan, and 400 years of a history that American textbooks largely skipped. In these 10 places, that history is visible on the street. If you want more hidden American stories, subscribe.
The original link, you
map
can find
is
it down
bigger
below in
than
the
you think.
description. That was beautiful to see. And I wanted to add something what the Filipino brought to the United States, or whatever a Filipino will go. It brought his heart, which is something unique. How big it is and how beautiful it is. Then another thing that I want to say, it's where are you watching from? I mean, I know you're watching from the Philippines. I have a lot of Filipinos that are watching from the Philippines. By the way, we are almost at 50,000 Filipinos here on the channel. I hope to make the biggest community of Filipinos here on YouTube with your help, of course. And I know a lot of you are watching from the States. So maybe you are a part of this 10 places. It will be really cool to know. Leave it down below in the comments. And I hope that this community will continue to grow and make the Filipinos that are living in the US more at home, because it's really hard having a homesickness and not being able. I mean, I'm thinking about Jollibee. Just being there and eat something that reminds you of home, that's already something outstanding. And I know you understand what I'm saying. Hope you like it, the video. Subscribe, of course, to the channel. Other videos to come. Don't forget the other channel. You can find it down below in the description if you want to go and check out over there as well. And like I always say, till next time, stay safe.